Hi everyone and welcome back to the Deck National League podcast. I'm your host Dan, and as you can see I'm joined by my esteemed panel again this week. I'm joined by Mark. How are you doing, mate? You okay?
Pleasure to be here as always.
Good to see you. Craig, you okay, mate?
Very well, thank you. Would like a few more players for the doors at Braintree, but overall pretty happy so far.
Yeah, it's been a busy week. We've got a lot to cover. Obviously fixtures were announced. We're going to cover that. We're going to cover the NL Cup and things going on there. There's obviously the big Andy Carroll cloud as well. It's obviously a good cloud, but good news for them. And obviously we're going to cover transfers and things that have gone on over the last week as well. So we'll start with fixtures. Mark, what did you make of Macclesfield's opening fixtures? Are you happy with them, and how are things looking?
Absolutely. I mean, Worksop, we played them away last season. Finally got a win there. They beat us in the previous season, home and away. But now a totally different era. We'll have totally different players in regards to who we brought in to replace the ones who've gone out. And then Oxford City away, our first away game to Oxford City. Yeah, can't get much more northern than that. But I will say some of the fixtures, like Fylde, Southport, Marine away on a Tuesday night. I wouldn't have been happy if I was because Mac do take a very good following. And they must have looked at that and thought, oh, do you know what? I really could have done with being on a Saturday. But we've got Merthyr Town at home on a Tuesday night. The one I was dreading would be away on a Tuesday night. Is now going to be them coming to us. But I personally think anybody who can make it on a Tuesday night, Saturday from far and beyond, they deserve a good recognition for it. So, but yeah, quite happy with Worksop. Renew old battles. We're renewing them against Radcliffe and Marine. Radcliffe at the end of the season away. Yeah, looking forward to it. Very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's always exciting. I think when the fixtures get announced, like obviously as a Carlisle fan, we've just come off the back of two back-to-back relegations, and everyone's down on themselves and feeling a bit down. And then all of a sudden the fixtures are out. It's like, right, here we go. I was saying about Carlisle's fixtures. I think we've got some decent opening fixtures. I've got them in front of me here. We've got Walking Away, which could be tricky to be fair, but then we've got Boreham Wood at home, Solihull Moors at home, Wellston away, and then Braintree at home. Which brings us nicely to Craig. But I did say I was like, there was some fixtures in there that I was worried about. I think I said last week, Truro away for Carlisle. I was like, that's definitely going to be on a Tuesday night in December. Turns out it's not. It's the second last game of the season, back end of April. So hopefully the weather will be nice for people travelling down, which is better. And Brackley home. Sorry, last game of the season. Is on my birthday, so me and my dad we're kind of planning ahead, and we're gonna go down and have a proper day there, and like in the restaurant and everything. Hopefully, be celebrating some kind of promotion, but we won't get too far ahead there. But yeah, we've planned ahead for that last game of the season being on my birthday. So yeah, I was happy with Carlisle's fixtures. I think there's enough there to suggest that we can go on a decent run. There's a tricky run. I'm just looking at September, October, where we've got like York, Rochdale, Hartlepool, Scunthorpe. So there's some there's a tricky run September, October time, which it could come unstuck depending. But in general, I think obviously there's always going to be tricky games. There's a lot of midweek games. There's a lot of games in a short space of time this season. So I think it could come unstuck. But if you get on a good run, I think Carlisle could comfortably win the first couple of games and get on a real good run. Craig, how did you feel about Braintree's fixtures released?
Yeah, I think we've got a tough start. I say that I've looked through every month, and I think it just shows the strength of the National League now. That I haven't thought, wow, that's a really good month, a really easy month for us. I think every month's tough. But in our first 8, we played 4 teams that were in the playoffs last year and Carlisle, so that's quite a tough start. Carlisle away on Bank Holiday Monday, which I think you'll be a little bit disappointed with the turnout from Braintree fans because it's quite a long journey, and I think we were all looking for that on a Saturday. being on the bank holiday Monday, obviously people will have work the next day. So I think people were looking to make a bit of a weekend out of it. But being at home to Yeovil 2 days before, obviously, they'll be coming to that one, but maybe not as many travelling to Carlisle as we first hoped. Halifax at home, I think it's nice to always have a home game on opening day. I think it's a good chance to get that momentum behind you early, but I'd have probably picked someone slightly different to Halifax who had a good season, even if we probably didn't say so, Mark, on the ratings one a few weeks back and got a few comments on the social medias about it, shall we say.
Oh, yeah.
Ruffled a few feathers, did you?
Oh, boy, didn't we?
I expect them to be up there again, challenging towards the playoffs. I think they might just miss out, but they'll be up in that directions again. They've had a bit of a changeover. So hopefully playing them first game of the season with the changes in manager and a few changes there is a good time to play them. Boreham Wood in the first couple of games away, won the away games where I think Braintree will look to get something. I think our home form is going to be crucial, but if we can pick up the odd win away, I think it took us till late November, maybe a little bit earlier to get our first home away win last season. So if we can chalk that off nice and early, but Boreham Wood are going to be looking at Braintree as well. I'm thinking that's an early 3 points for us. But yeah, tough to start. And I think right at the end as well, our final months where we're going to potentially be down there or looking over our shoulder at down there, there's some very tough games to finish the season. I think it's going to be a tough season, and every game in this league is going to be competitive. I don't think there's any gimmies anymore. So
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Yeah, I mean, that was what I said, because obviously Carlisle haven't been in non-league for 20 years, pretty much. So when I was looking into it, obviously once we were relegated last season, the strength of the league just like absolutely took my breath away, because there's so many teams in there that are either former football league teams or teams with reputations and history and things like that. And it's like I say, there's some games in there, like I say with Carlisle, that I looked at it and I thought we should win that, but it doesn't mean we will. Like I say, walking away, that's not a gimme first game of the season. Walking will be up for it. It'll be a tough atmosphere, tough ground to go to. And like I say, as well as it could go, you could get on a good run. It can also take a turn for the worst as well. And we're already on the back of back-to-back relegations. We lose our first couple of games, things can start spiraling again. So it really is so competitive and on a knife edge.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in terms of Braintree, looking back to last season, we almost became the Robin Hood of the league as such. I think only Tamworth, that finished in the top half, took 6 points off Braintree. We beat Barnet at home. We beat Forest Green at home. We beat York at home. Southend, we drew at their place. Rochdale, we beat at home. Granted, they'd rested a few players because they were already in the playoffs. Halifax, we beat at home. So it feels like for Braintree, you've got to be taking some points off them top teams as well, because the bottom teams are all doing it. They're all taking points off each other. They're all taking points off the top teams. I think we stayed up last season with 55 points, which is a very respectable total. And we were safe on the final day. We only become safe on the final day. So, again, you're looking at 50 points plus to stay up. Yeah. And that's not easy to get 50 points. So you've got to keep chipping away. You can't probably do what Boston done and start really slowly, and then they just surged. They went flying. They picked up so many towards the end, but that was almost an anomaly. That's not going to happen every season. It didn't happen to Ebbsfleet. They were doomed from probably about October, November onwards. And as we spoke about in the group chat, I think it was Callum brought it up. There's a third of the games or a quarter of the games being played by the end of September. It's frantic to start. I think it was 15 games.
Yeah.
By the end of September. That is absolutely frantic and a bad start. And you can be, in case of a promotion chasing team, you can almost be out the race. You're only fighting for the playoffs then.
Ebbsfleet found that out last season as well. I mean, they made an atrocious start. Yeah. Ebbsfleet did, and they just never recovered, whereas Boston, the appointment of Graham Coughlin was a masterstroke.
There'll be a very interesting side to see if they can go again, though. And Tamworth. Tamworth obviously punched well above their weight last year.
Well, I think...
Again, can they do it again?
Out of the National League, the National League's opening fixtures, Tamworth versus Scunthorpe, that's the one that leapt out at me, because you got Scunthorpe coming back into that league as they were expected to do from the National League North. They've still got Danny Whitehall, Callum Roberts. They've managed to sign them up. At Tamworth, they've lost, obviously they lost Dan Creaney, but they became sort of cult heroes for what they did against Tottenham. So people can look at Tamworth and go, that's the team that played Tottenham. Let's see how they get on. So, but Scunthorpe to me have got a point to prove as well. They're a big name. Let's not mess around here. They are a big name, and their need to get back into the Football League will be even bigger this time. I mean, the fact that they have managed to secure Whitehall and Roberts for the season is a massive plus for them.
Yeah, I mean, they're one of the teams that obviously spring to mind when you think of established EFL teams. Over the years, Scunthorpe's one that were always in the Football League for years and years. Fell on hard times. Yeah, exactly. Fell on hard times, fell down the leagues, making the way back up. Like you say, that they'll want scalps. They'll want to hit the ground running. They'll want to start well. I do think there's a lot of teams in there at the moment. We've talked about teams potentially promotion chasers and stuff, but it's all about consistency. And like Craig says about Braintree, you will have them teams that will take points off the team, the so-called title challengers, the promotion chasers, and it's the consistency side of it that certain teams might not be able to cope with having such a big amount of games in such a short space.
Yeah, Scunthorpe could be the dark horses of this league. They really could, because not to put too fine a point on it, but again, Whitehall and Roberts. If one of those had gone, then you'd think, who do you replace them with? But the fact that they've managed to get them to stay on, they must be saying, right, it's promotion or bust this season, and they'll be looking at people to fail, and they've got the firepower there to capitalise on it. So have a look out for Scunthorpe.
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, I think they're one of them teams to definitely watch out for. I think covered fixtures pretty well there. I think there's a lot of standout teams this season. There's a lot of big games to start, good runs of fixtures. So I think it's going to be an exciting season. We're going to look on to now the transfers that have happened this week. Obviously, there's been some big names, one of which we'll come to a bit later on. But I just wanted to get your take on some of them. Which ones have caught your eye this week, Craig?
Yeah, so mine is very recent, so recent that I think you two hadn't even seen it had kind of come through. So Greg Ollie has moved to York City. Greg Ollie, who was a massive fans' favourite at Gateshead.
Yeah.
He'd been there a number of years now as well, part of their FA Trophy winners and the runners-up the year before. And I know he was very public in his statements towards the end of the season about why he was moving on and the situation at Gateshead, which I'm not obviously going to go into in masses here. But he had an injury ravaged last season there, and you always felt there was a player that could potentially play higher up into League Two. But obviously it hasn't happened for him, especially this last season with injury. So it's nice to see him get a new, fresh start. And he's gone to a club which there's clearly some money there. I think we can all talk about that as much as we want to as well.
Yeah,
he's gone to a team from one that was probably financially a little bit worried to one that's in the very opposite end of the scale, and probably a little bit of security for him. And now can he get back to his form after injury and help propel York up the league, who I know Mark obviously had as his favourites in end of the season one as well. So they're expecting to be up there, and signings like that are just going to cement them as a strong title competitor to your Carlisle, Robbie Savage's Forest Green. But Greg Ollie, I think, will be is an excellent signing and could go down as, if he gets fit and gets up and running, potentially signing of the summer.
And they've got Ollie Banks as well, who knows all about it. That's a great signing. He was very, very good at Tranmere. I know that Chesterfield fans weren't exactly pleased to see him go, but yeah, Banks is a good signing.
Yeah, I think they've signed really well. York, they've shown that we missed out narrowly last year, or by about 10 points to Barnet in the end, but they obviously gave them a very good run. Then I wouldn't say they're in the go big or go home approach right now, but they're very much going for it again. They're saying, right, we are serious about going up. We're putting our eggs in this basket. We're going for it. We're backing ourselves. We're backing the manager, who obviously at the start of the summer there was discussions about him potentially moving on. They're fully going. We're going up this year, which for the likes of Carlisle, going back to them fixtures, if they don't hit the ground running, you'd expect York will. Will York get far enough ahead that when Carlisle do hit the ground and are catching, can they catch them? Because York, I expect to hit the ground running and be flying, and signings like this only cement that for me.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I think their firepower, just again on paper, but in general, you know, like and signing Ollie Banks as well with Ollie Pierce and people like that. It's just they do seem to have the firepower, and it looks to me a bit like what you said. Not necessarily go big or go home, but we are putting it all into this season. If we don't go up this season, then potentially it might be a case at the end of the season where certain players move on, manager maybe moves on. You know, it's maybe all this season or nothing. That's kind of how it looks to me personally. I don't have any insider knowledge or anything, but just that's kind of how it looks to me.
Yes, and also they've managed to keep hold of Ollie Pierce as well.
Yeah,
he was. I think somebody bid 150,000 for him. A football league club, which was batted away straight away. They're in a position now, York, to reject bids like that as well. So something's happening, but it's got to be this. We cannot fail this time.
Yeah,
and the signings reflect that.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, the firepower in particular just is frightening, really, for that level of football. You know, they think how many goals they scored last season, and then what they've added to that front line. You know, it seems like it's got to be successful. I don't see how it isn't unless injuries hit or anything like that. But yeah, for me, transfer wise this week, I seen Stefan Moles join Tamworth. For this division, excellent player. Seen him at
Very
non-league
good
level a
player.
couple of times. Very good player. I think if I'm right, I think he came. Did he come through the Blackburn Academy? Was it Blackburn?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, we've seen him a couple of seasons with Curzon Ashton when they played Max. So, but a very, I mean, 26 years old. He could, he'll get you double figures. He will get you double figures. Another one that caught my eye was Josh Lundstrom going to Eastleigh from Oldham. That's a very, very good signing, because they were umming and ahhing whether he'd re-sign at Oldham, but Eastleigh again, an intent signing. This is what we're going to do. I mean, a lot of teams now, if you do look at who they've been signing, are now saying, right, Halifax, for example, Cody Johnson still getting the plaudits. I mean, they've lost a few players to Barnet, but now they're making signings. The teams are now making signings to say, right, take us seriously. This could be the most open national league for a good while.
Yeah, like I say, every day there seems to be transfers that just come from like before we went live. Craig come on and said about Greg Ollie. There was another one. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased, but I was intrigued to get you guys' takes, because obviously I didn't see much of the National League last season. But Carlisle have signed Josh Grant from Wealdstone. Obviously, I've heard he's versatile, can play midfield, can play defence. I just wondered if you guys have seen him play, and were you impressed when you seen him play?
Saw a couple of games on DAZN last year, and I mean, you can't. Everybody's looking for versatility these days. If you can get somebody who can do that defensive and midfield job, you've more or less secured. I mean, it's like the old sweeper days. Remember them?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No such thing as a sweeper. Well, Franz Beckenbauer made a good career out of it. But if you can get that, same as Forest Green with Laurent Mendy, there's versatility. If you can get a player for nothing who can play more than one position, then that is worth a good 12 points in itself, because you don't have to worry if the players have got somebody of a caliber who can do that job and do it well. It means it means that the opposition have got somebody else to worry about.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Don't get them worried about one player. Get them worried about every player.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and I think what you said about versatility as well, especially when like we've touched on previously about there's so many games in such a short space of time. Versatility, someone who's going to be able to fill in at right back, fill in at left back, fill in at centre half, fill in
Yeah.
midfield.
And he's comfortable doing
yeah,
that.
yeah, exactly. You're going to give you the 6, 7 out of 10 every time playing there. It's worth its weight in gold, isn't it? They could be the
Yeah.
difference, like you say, could potentially be 12-point difference. That could be the difference between playoffs and promotion, or relegation and safety, or whatever. I think at this level, I think versatility is massive. Before we move on, obviously, I just wanted to see, was there any other transfers that have caught your eye this week?
Just in general, the whole business Rochdale have done. If you'd have said to me 6, 7 weeks ago, would Rochdale be in your top 3 or 4? I'd have probably said no, but I haven't seen what I believe is a bad signing from them yet.
They've been really savvy,
Humbles,
haven't they?
Mancini, Tutumba, if that's correctly, Manny D, and
Manny D.
I just think they're building a really good, strong squad.
Very savvy signings, and I'm going to be biased here. Ethan McLeod and Regan Griffiths at Mike. Look out for them pair.
Yeah.
I can't talk too much about Braintree's transfers at the moment because we've been a little bit slow.
You've been a bit quiet there, mate.
We have. Yeah. There's not really much more to add. To that
you may be just happy with how things are. You may be just happy with that.
I'm used to us having to start completely again, and so there's always more transfers trickling in. This year, Steve Pitts kept a very good core of about 11, 12 players.
Yeah.
Considering the season before, when we kicked off the first ball against Oldham, only Tom Blackwell was in the squad from the squad that won the playoffs. Reggie Lamb was on the bench, but he only lasted about another 3 months. So the fact that we've kept the core of 12, 13 is probably why there's not as much business. And I think most of our business going forwards now will probably be added in loans. So a lot of those players are probably spending the start of pre-season with their parent clubs, perhaps even younger ones going on tours with certain teams before potentially signing. We've had very good relationships with Luton over the last couple of years. We had Ben Tompkins from them a couple of years ago, who's recently signed for Chelmsford on a permanent. We've had Jacob Pennington and Aidan Francis Clark, who originally came on loan and then joined on a permanent. So again, good links with localish clubs, Colchester, for example, as well, maybe where our business goes. But going back to the versatile players that we talked earlier, with squads like Braintree size, we tend to field around the 18, 19 mark for a squad. Just having that versatile player, especially when your budget's that little bit tighter, means you know that player that's potentially not going to start in your strongest 11, but will probably end up starting the most games of the season because of how versatile they are, means that you might be able to spend that extra £300-400 a week on that striker that's going to score you 20, 30 goals a year because you've got those versatile players. Without them, you can't afford to buy one striker. You're taking the risk on 2 slightly smaller strikers in stature. So yeah, versatile players, massive fan of them, and every team needs 2 or 3 in their 18 every week.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Definitely, like you say, and then that allows you then to use your budget on something else that might impact the team more, and it doesn't have you go and getting an 18-year-old on loan and having them lead your line. Because Carlisle have done that in League Two and that in the past, where they haven't had an actual striker and they've went and got like an 18-year-old kid to try and lead the line, and it doesn't work because you're putting all your pressure on a kid that's there to learn his trade and things like that. So it
But
makes total
every
sense.
Nathan Lowe at Warsaw, was it Nathan Lowe at Warsaw? For every one
That's
of them,
right,
there's
yeah.
100 that fail.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like we got last season, we had Joe Hugel from Manchester United, and when he come, we were like, wow, from Man United, you know. And he just, to be fair, it wasn't his fault. Like he just got no service. He didn't. He looked like he didn't have any confidence, and it was a bad decision. It was a bad decision to put that pressure on him to try and keep us safe. It just didn't work out. So like you say, Nathan Lowe is the anomaly in probably the other 99 that didn't work out. So yeah, versatile players are where it's at for me. I think very important. That moves us on nicely. Obviously, we're going to talk now about the NL Cup and who's been announced, who's pulled out. Obviously, last season was Sutton United versus Leeds under 21s in the final. Riveting stuff.
Oh.
Leeds obviously coming out on top. Like I say again, last season, obviously, I was watching more League Two than National League, so I'd be intrigued to get you guys' takes on the cup in general. So, Mark, I'll come to you first. What's your take on the cup? What and the teams pulling out? Is it a good thing, or do you think they should be in it?
Well, it goes to show how seriously they want to take it. I mean, they forfeited FA Cup replays for this. You've got to be kidding me. And the National League have just thought, well, if they're warm to it, they're never going to warm to it. You know, they were getting crowds of 100, 200. I mean, Rochdale now are letting supporters in for free on these National League Cup. That's a good thing because it will get them in and it might get people through the doors on the next National League game. But the whole it has just been goofy right from the get-go. And the fact that the more potential money spinning FA Cup replays, as Tamworth as they will probably testify, have been sacrificed for something that is a money loser. And if they can't see it in about, I don't know, maybe 2 seasons' time, then they never will. It's just a complete and utter shambles, a waste of time, and they've got to get rid of it. It's just not for anybody.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it reminds me a bit of. I mean, I don't even know what the sponsor is now, but in the football, the EFL Trophy. So whether it was Papa John's or whatever was sponsoring it, and they started bringing. Well, it was Papa John's at one point. I know that, but they started bringing the under 21s from the Premier League in and things like that, and it just starts messing for me with like the standard because you've got these kids coming down from Man City, Liverpool, but they're like, you know, they're still a lot better than a lot of these players that are playing for well-established teams in the EFL and things like that. And for me, it's just when the under 21s come in, you know, what's stopping them playing a couple of ones that aren't under 21 as well that just need game time and things like that. So it just, yeah, for me, looking out from the outside in last season, it just didn't feel right. And like you said, Tamworth against Spurs in the cup,
Yeah,
missed out on a replay for this. Like it just doesn't feel right to me personally.
yeah,
Craig,
it's ridiculous.
yeah, Craig, what's your take on it, mate? Do you think the same?
Yeah, to a degree. I do think that it should never have happened. I do think it might be here to stay for a little bit longer because despite all the uproars, there's still 16 National League teams that have taken it. It is good to see some of the money filter down. I know, obviously, from being part of Braintree Town last season, that we did make some fairly good money off it. So for the teams like ourselves, probably Brackley, Truro, those kind of things, the smaller fish in this pond, effectively, it can work to our benefit. There's prize money to be won. Braintree managed to get as far as the semi-finals, and they had a home semi-final. That they turned a profit off this cup, which, because probably our stadium costs and that aren't of what some of the other teams are, it worked for us effectively. But at the same time, we went to Brackley in the first round of the FA Cup, who were the league below us, and we lost on penalties. If Brackley would have come to us on a Tuesday night for the replay, we'd have been in the second round of the FA Cup in my eyes. We'd have beat them on a Tuesday night at home in a replay. We'd have beat them. That's my opinion. That's obviously not fact. We got that taken away from us, and then they drew. I think it was Stockport in the next round away, which for a team of Braintree, that's probably much bigger than any of the National Cup games that we played. Despite the fact that they were fairly well attended, and I'll say fairly well. I think it was between 150 and 800, which for Braintree 800 is not that different to a Saturday's attendance right now, kind of thing, depending who we're playing. So I think it has got its pluses, but going back to the EFL Cup, I'd much rather see the under-21 scrapped out of that, the under-21 scrapped out of this, and these two tournaments merged. I think the gap between League Two and the National League isn't that big. So I think it would be a great test. And for example, if Colchester and Braintree got put, that's a local rivalry probably loose because they've never been in the same division kind of thing. But two local teams that would get a much better attendance than Leicester's under-21s coming down. It would get much better publicity. It would probably be all over the Colchester newspapers, all in the Braintree ones, whereas a National League Cup probably gets a section that big in the local paper, if anything, kind of thing.
Yeah. Don't forget we're playing tonight. Yeah.
Pardon?
Don't forget we're playing tonight. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I'll take you back. I'll do the Grandpa Simpson at the Lemon Tree story here. But over 30 years ago, there used to be something called the Drinkwise Cup. And that was basically the conference as it was then, their version of the League Cup. And I remember it was when Sammy McElroy had taken over at Macclesfield Town. And that was the first trophy when we played Yeovil in the final over 2 legs. And we were going down. They came up to us on a Tuesday night, and we went down there on a Tuesday night, and we won it. And why not revive that instead of this goofy just men against kids? You know, it's no. But I mean, the whole point of it. I mean, they went on about, oh no, our FA Cup replay's bad for clubs, blah blah blah, and then this suddenly appears. And okay, yes, it does have its plus points, but the whole thing it's like you've taken away the chance to A, get on the TV as well, B, that plum replay. Nobody knows how many supporters will turn up for the replay. I mean, say Braintree did get Colchester and you've held them to a 0-0 draw at the Western Homes, whatever it's called, Community Stadium now, and got them back to Braintree. And you say you put the signs on the doors, sold out, you know, because it's a cup replay. It doesn't matter if it's a Tuesday night. You've got that where you're thinking, oh, good, West Bromwich Albion, no disrespect to their under-21s, but West Bromwich Albion under-21s,
Yeah,
no.
It just doesn't have that feel to it, does it? Like, I think I'm a traditionalist in general, so like I just think with like the FA Cup, there's just that history there. Like if it's an FA Cup tie, even if it's against someone in the same league, as you, but like it still feels more of a game than if it's in one of these cups. And I think there could be a prestige to it if we went down the route you've just mentioned there of just scrapping the under-21s and just having the National League teams and the EFL teams going at it.
Bring back the Drinkwise Cup.
Yeah, bring it back. I would.
Come on.
I would. I think it's a good idea. Obviously, just what you mentioned earlier as well. I wanted to say, I think Rochdale, that's a really good touch. Letting people in for free. I think that's really good of them to try and get more eyes on the product. Whether it works, whether it doesn't in the long run, who knows? But it will get people in the door. It will for free. If I lived in Rochdale.
Sorry, Dan.
Yeah.
One of the things they mentioned in their statement, which was very interesting for me, was obviously there's a potential there may be a game over, I think, the October half term, doing it smack bang in the middle of the day, and that place is going to be filled with kids.
Family,
great idea.
Rochdale put on a show that day. They put on a good performance. Going back to myself at 10 years old, if I went with my dad to watch Braintree and they put on a good performance, straight away I'd be going, when they playing next? When they playing next? When they playing next? Like,
There you
it's a
go.
it's a
And that's what
fantastic
Rochdale have
bit of
looked at.
marketing by them, and they're using something that I'm very impressed. They're using something that is getting a little bit, loosely saying it, quite a lot of uproar against it, and they've put a very, very positive spin on it.
Yeah,
That this could attract supporters from, because they just hear the name. I think Rochdale got Man United in their group. I might be wrong. I just checked that.
Yes, they have.
That Man United, Everton, Burnley, Blackburn.
Yeah,
Man United or Everton. No disrespect to Burnley or Blackburn. They're names that are known by every 10-year-old out there.
Yeah,
but you look at location as well. I mean, some of them could be looking forward to the Burnley and Blackburn games even more.
Yeah.
As well, sometimes, I mean, having a big club come and visit you, but when you've got somebody just down the road, that means a hell of a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you think Rochdale and Manchester United, they're, right on the doorstep, it's close, close to each other. So you think that, there could be some, I know there's a lot of Man United fans that do follow the youth team and follow them around the country and things like that. So they'll take some away fans there as well, especially if it's, free to get in and things.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so it's, I do think it's such a good idea and such a good way to put a positive spin on something that's got a lot of negative attention, like Craig says. I think it's a really good idea, and well done to Rochdale for doing it, and hopefully it works out for them. I don't have any feelings either way yet, because my team hasn't played in it or anything like that. So,
and they won't either.
Yeah, so if it can work out for people that want it to work out, good for them. I think it's a really good idea from Rochdale. But obviously, just the teams that have been confirmed to pull out that I've got so far were Altrincham, York, Carlisle, Hartlepool, Eastleigh, Southend, and Yeovil. That was the last time I checked. I think that's factually correct as of time of recording.
Yeah, it's just confined to 7. As one of our comrades here at the deck, the Solihull Moors inclusion hasn't quite gone down well with him. So, but yeah, it's just the 7. Hartlepool were the last ones, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. So there has been teams pull out, but like Craig said before, there's still a good chunk of teams wanting to be in it and wanting to be a part of it.
For the life of me, I can't think who it is, because obviously there's 24 in the league and there's 16 in there. So there must be an 8th.
If anyone wants to comment below, then please do.
Someone comment and let us know. Like I say, factually, that was what I had wrote down from earlier today, but I've maybe missed one, so I apologise. And obviously, we're going to move on to the final topic of the show, which will be the Dagenham Redbridge takeover, the Andy Carroll madness, the ownership, the takeover that's got everyone talking, really, even not even just non-league. Like, I've spoke to fans of Liverpool Premier League clubs that have been like, see, Andy Carroll's gone to Dagenham Redbridge and things like that. So it just gets people talking. So Mark, I'll come to you first, mate. Andy Carroll, part owner, star striker, investor, incredible. What's your take on it, mate?
Bums on seats. That's what it's going to bring. It's going to bring bums on seats. I mean, you see what Andy Carroll did when he moved to France. I think the whole experience of playing for Amiens, and particularly at Bordeaux, when what he was being paid at Bordeaux was brought to light, and from going from £100,000 a week to £1,400 a week or a month, whatever it was, it's definitely changed him, if you will. I mean, it's given him a bit of perspective, but the new people who've taken over at Dagenham, I mean, God, they're the people who ran him last season couldn't run a bath. And he's gone in, he's got a percentage of the club. You think now the front 3, Andy Carroll, Ashley Hemmings, Donovan Wilson, that is some hefty firepower there. But people will go to watch Andy Carroll because it is who it is. And I think with him having the West Ham connection as well will help. There'll be the West Ham fans who, when they've got their match off due to internationals, they'll go, do you know what? Andy Carroll's down at Dagenham and Redbridge, and it is good. It is good for the National League because it gets people talking, and it just came out of the blue, and that's a good thing. That's the only way you can get people talking is by saying, "Here he is." Like, blimey, when did that happen?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, when I seen it announced, I was just like, I don't know if you remember, they put the picture on social media and it was just the back of him with the long hair and stuff. And I was like, is that Andy Carroll? And then obviously, before you know it, you're clicking to check. And then for me, it's a masterstroke. It really is from Dagenham and Redbridge. Like, obviously, they've got the takeover anyways, but then to get a name of Andy Carroll, but he's still a very good player as well. Like, like you said, when he was in France, he was banging them in for Bordeaux. Like he's still a very good player. If he can stay fit, honestly, he'll score so many goals. But like you said, the key words you said were bums on seats, Mark. And I think bums on seats is exactly right. Especially like you say, if there's no Premier League that weekend, people might want to go to Dagenham and Redbridge and see big Andy Carroll, see if he's still the big target man that we all watched back a few years ago in the Premier League for Liverpool and Newcastle, West Ham. Honestly, I think it's a masterstroke. Craig, what did you make of the Andy Carroll news, mate?
Yeah, so it's an interesting one for me. Obviously, firstly, like Mark said, it seems to be good that for the Dagenham and Redbridge fans that there's a light at the end of their tunnel because they've had some very interesting decisions made there in the last few months with obviously Egyptian YouTubers and all those kind of things. Again, something we're not going to go into mass detail about. But it's nice for them to see that now they're looking forward to the new season. We had obviously Dave from Morecambe on last week, who ultimately football was the last thing he was thinking about with his team after a relegation. It should be, can we bounce back? And now that's really the buzz the Dagenham and Redbridge fans have got with the signings they've made, with the investment coming in, with Andy Carroll coming in. It seems to be that they've got that buzz back that ultimately at the end of the season had just drifted away from them completely. Now, I know obviously there was rumours rife on Twitter of Andy Carroll coming to a National League club. I know Chelsea City was mentioned numerous times. So it did come a bit of a surprise to me that it was Dagenham and Redbridge, but he obviously wanted a little bit more than just being a player. So he's got interests in the club. He's got investment in the club. And I know me and you have joked off air with Mark about 2 years becoming the manager and then 3 years going to Forest Green. Just to run it into him slightly. But
if that happens, by the way, that is the best prediction we've ever done.
Put your money on it now, folks.
Yeah, and any investment into National League football, non-league football to a degree, is a good thing as long as it's done properly. I think the exposure that it will bring the National League South is good, like you said, and especially the West Ham fans, obviously not being too far away from Dagenham and Redbridge, it might tempt some of them. Oh, we're away this weekend. I couldn't travel with them. Let's go and see what Andy Carroll's up to. So I think the exposure it will bring the league is a good thing. Whether he's a success on the field is tough to tell because it's a very competitive league and the games come thick and fast. Will he be able to do that Saturday, Tuesday, or will he be a bit part player and just be that name that gets played?
Well, I think to me, when the concentration levels will be primarily on Andy Carroll, you've then got to think, well, hang on, Ashley Hemmings is playing, or Donovan Wilson's playing. Two guys who can really, they know where the back of the net is as well. So, if a defender will be thinking, oh, great, I've got one of them, and then I've got one of those guys. It's an eggs in one basket, but I don't think Dagenham want to hang around in that National League South for too long. They'll want to get back up, and the backing that they've got, they'll be thinking, let's get back into the Football League as well.
Yeah, I mean, for the Andy Carroll thing, honestly, I think even if he plays every Saturday, and maybe if they need him on a Tuesday night for 10 minutes, back end of the game, need a goal, use him sporadically that way. I don't necessarily see him starting every game, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. I don't think I probably would assume his body couldn't do that now. I could be totally wrong, mind. That's just my opinion, but I would say probably use him in the big games, especially. But then, if you need a goal, 10 minutes to go, why not? Who better to bring on than a Premier League proven England international goal scoring star striker than Andy Carroll if you need a goal as
Yeah,
well?
and
I d-
and I think and I'll reiterate, his spell at Bordeaux might have given him the moment of footballing clarity that it's like, it doesn't have to be about the money. If he was scoring goals and enjoying his football again, then he can make that transition over to Dagenham and Redbridge, and on his day, he can be unstoppable. I mean, a 3-year deal as well he's signed. I mean, he's 36 now, but if he's enjoying his football again, then I think, I think the National League South better look out.
Yeah,
yeah,
there doesn't seem to be any losers in this for me. I think everyone can win. Everyone
Yeah.
can win. Even if it's just not on the football field, Dagenham can still win out of this thing. If he scores 5-10 goals as well, that's an absolute bonus for them.
I'll make a bold prediction. I think he'll get about 20.
Yeah, like I say, I think it's when I said masterstroke, I think it's a masterstroke across the board. I think tactically, like on the pitch, it'll benefit them. It'll harm the team they're playing as well because, like you said, that they might think, right, we need to handle Andy Carroll. Then we've got these other two star strikers as well, or
Yeah.
attackers that
What
are going to
combination are we going to be facing? That's
exactly. And then obviously you take that out, and then you look at bums on seats.
Mhm.
The exposure. It's got people talking. The social media hype. Masterstroke. Honestly, I can't speak highly enough of how they've done it as well. Just out the blue. I know Craig said there was obviously talk of it, but I didn't know there was. So like for people like me, it was like, wow, is that Andy Carroll turning up at Dagenham and Redbridge? Like it was just so out of the blue. So like I say, I think it's a real masterstroke. But yeah, I think that's it for us this week. Thank you, Mark, for joining me. Thank you, Craig. Much appreciated. We've covered fixtures, the NL Cup, transfers, the Andy Carroll situation at Dagenham and Redbridge. It's been a really busy week. We've enjoyed. This is my second show. I've really enjoyed it again. Thanks to the lads for joining me, and thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you next week. Take care.